band-maid rockets back into action in Unleash music video, which we all saw, and apparently there's like 150 plus reactions or something like that. Something crazy.
Yep. There's a 100 at least 120 right now.
Nice.
Wow, is it the most they've had?
I think with that within the release of the song, it's got to be. I know I saw a lot more, like had a lot of new people checking them out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they have an awesome article over here on J-Rock News, just like going over it, talking about the video and stuff. But what did you guys want to add to it? Because I was going to address one thing first before you guys talk. A lot of people were not happy with the sound, I guess. And I was thinking about it a little bit deeper when I was thinking about synths. I kind of liking it because now it's like, it is band-maid. Like, it's so unique that I haven't heard that sound anywhere else. Like, from the Sense album or EP and this. If I thought about it, I'm like, you know what? You got to take some time to get used to it. But, like, that sound, if you're not a fan of it. But you can't deny that that's the band-maid sound. You know what I mean? Compared to their other older stuff.
Part of it.
Their older stuff, like, it does sound like band-maid, of course. But I don't know. It's kind of growing on me as into like, that's a really unique tone that I haven't heard anywhere else.
See, the crazy thing that some people pointed out was like, if you go back to like Screaming, it's kind of that could sit with these songs too.
Oh, that's true.
I couldn't agree more.
And that's an old tune, man.
Yeah.
That's one of the first ones they started getting their own, their own writing credit. So it's kind of, it's been there, but I like it. And I mentioned in my video I made, it's like the whole album is not gonna be like that, if it is, I'm cool with it, but I still would like to hear some of their other. I'd love if they threw a ballad on there that would just make me fucking cry like all their other ones. I want to hear a nice clean Konami solo too, but I don't know.
I'm a little confused, honestly, but only because I kind of viewed, obviously they do a little bit different stuff with like the guitar when it comes to like the leads and the production that they're using on it, like Alan was saying, the pedal that she was using or whatever. Sounds a little bit different than normal, when she does lead guitar work in their other songs. That being said, the actual structure of the song and like the riffs that are in this song kind of gave me more old school rock feels than new modern era progressive metal feels. And I saw a lot of people saying that they didn't really like that it was like still kind of going towards that progressive sound or whatever, but I felt like it was more of a tread backwards towards their older rock sound outside of obviously that little bridge.
I didn't think it was that progressive either, actually.
Yeah, I felt like it was closer to their rock and roll sound than their progressive metal sound, which is, I think they kind of waver between the two of them.
Right. I threw it into a playlist with the Sense songs because to me, I'm like, those sounds like those songs. And when I listen to them all back to back, but even within the Sense single, those songs are just more different than I remember them being from each other. So they kind of got lumped together. But they're all.
I had the same thing recently too.
But they're still very different.
I think there's also an element of this that we saw a lot of, like when we first started listening to Band-Maid, a lot of us watched that like Lion Shibuya show, right? And we saw that official live version where they're doing all this stuff, right? And now these new songs, we're just hearing the recorded versions of them. And I mean,
that's good.
Who knows what they're going to do when they actually pull these out live in front of a big crowd?
They did play Sense.
And it won't be as compressed. It'll be like,
nice.
We're hearing it on whatever platform we're fucking listening on, which is.
I think live is going to sound way better because I got to say it is really compressed, the song, when I kept listening to it again. Like almost the drums felt weird a little bit to me too when I heard it more, that I felt sounded better in Sense. Maybe that could be me. Like I said, I've only listened to it through like one speaker. So like, I don't know. It feels weird like when I was like just playing it off my phone and stuff like that. I don't know. Is that just me or... It feels like, I don't know, like really...
I just turn the volume down if it sounds too compressed, and then it sounds good.
Yeah.
But for me, like, the deeper I dive... Because I was seeing a lot of comments, too, that, like, not super happy with the new song. And, like, I feel like it's almost like there's so much happening in the song that it's really hard to get a good read on it and process it all on the first listen. Because every time I listen to the song, the deeper I dive into it musically and like really pick it apart, like there's so much like interesting musicality going on behind the scenes. Like every time it goes to a riff, they play a different riff in a different key than they were in before. Like first the riff's in A, then it's in E, then it's in D. It's like they just keep changing up, keeping it fresh throughout the whole song, and that's what I love about Band-Maid. So I was super happy with Unleash.
Wait, can you explain that a little further?
I think the music video just helped. Like, I think I enjoyed the music video more than the song after finding out like more of the story and stuff, and then I enjoyed the whole thing as a thing. Like, I'd rather listen to that song while watching the video. That's how I feel about it.
Cool.
Kind of.
My son loved the video. I showed him afterwards too, and he's like a big anime fan. He's total weeb, and he was just like, "This is awesome!" Like it was his favorite Band-Maid video so far.
And the work and time and planning and thought that they put into that video, it's like such fan service because they're like putting all these Easter eggs in, references to past videos, and Kupo, like so much stuff that they threw into the video whilst telling an interesting story arc throughout. It's really cool.
That's what the thing I mentioned was like they didn't. All we ask of them is to give us their mastery of writing songs, and they do that as well as give you more than just a badass song. If you can hear it for the first time, you're like, this is amazing. But if you know about them and what they've went through, that we all went through, it's even more. It's fan service, man, because it works both ways. So it's just the constant amazing thing about them is here it is, it's awesome. Then you're like, yeah, if you look under this fucking candy shell, there's all this other shit going on that is even more awesome.
Hey, someone has noise coming in, like a lot of shh.
Oh, Rosie's vacuuming. Rosie!
Unbelievable.
She said sorry.
Wait, can you break down what you were talking about a little bit more when you said that there was the riffing was going from E to A to D or whatever?
Yeah, like
talking about Unleash.
Yeah, the first riff was like, the first time it goes to a riff, it's like the power chord thing, like the. Can you hear that at all?
Yeah, we can hear it. Yeah.
And then the second time, it was like.
Right.
That's the first one was in the key of A, playing different chords. Second one was in E, and then the third time they're in D. They're like, so like those are all in the same little tiny connective parts after verses or whatever, but they're all different.
That's crazy.
Right, that is crazy.
So you got Psyche doing the same melody, but she's singing different words almost every time. The same time the vocal melody comes around, she's singing different lyrics. Yeah, I've talked about before where sometimes the whole song changes, and she's the only thread that's keeping the fact that it's the same song going. Yeah, because everything else completely changed. That's got to be challenging for a singer when your background changes and you got to keep it the same melody and stuff. So I mean, at this point, it's what they do. But even that first riff, when I was trying to learn it on my video, I'm like, well, it's a little different every time it gets played. Even the same riff. Sometimes it holds on a little more, then sometimes it slides in the next one. I'm like, am I just not catching this, or is it changing every time?
Like between the first verse and the second verse, after that little power chord riff, like she totally changes up her picking patterns, and Akane's beat becomes a little more open, not so much going on. Like just gives the verse 1 and verse 2 different feels, even though they're so compact, so close to each other.
Yeah, it's crazy. It doesn't seem like it's that short. There's so much going on. You remember like so many different parts of the song. It's like, oh, I remember when they started off with this riff, and it was a minute ago. And then the song's over. You're like, what?
Yeah, like Alan said for our first time reaction. What? It's over?
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, I did want more. Like I couldn't believe it was over. But then once I started understanding the music video, like it all made sense. I was like, loved it.
Dude, that's so special though, because I remember listening to music in the past, even from my favorite bands, where I was like, oh, this part again, it's kind of dragging on. Like, like one song that comes to my mind, it was Muse on the Resistance album, and it had this really long, I think Unnatural Selection, had this really long part in the middle that was kind of slow and repetitive, and I was like, I just want you to get back to the regular part of the song. And I never have that problem with Band-Maid, because they keep doing new stuff up until the last second of the song. At least to me.
Yeah.
No, I agree. That's generally why I like them too.
You don't think it's too much for 3 minutes? You don't think it's overload for some people? I mean,
It
I think for some
a-
people it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree with Wave.
that
It takes more listens to kind of wrap your head around it. But
It
once
makes it re-listenable.
For us, I do wonder though, like as you were explaining the thing about how it's starting in different keys, you know, post the verses and stuff like that. I was thinking about how cool that is, you know, like as you know, somebody that plays guitar, I was like, damn, dude, that's really hard to do. You know, it's so much easier to start back at that same root note that you would start at every time, because then there's a flow, and every time you adjust that, it gets more difficult to compose the song, because then you have to get back to where you started before that also, right?
My only thing is, the only thing that stuck in my head from that song was the don diddy don don. Like that's the only thing that really stuck in my head from it. Where like when I think about the other songs I've heard this week, a lot more melodies are actually stuck in my head. That's
kind of what I was gonna say, is that, like, you know, as cool as that stuff is that he was just talking about, and I think it's really cool, I do wonder what, like, you know, the general audience would feel about that, because if they're not noticing that type of thing, and they're just noticing that there's a quick shift in sound, they don't really know why or what the purpose was. You know what I mean? And does that help their enjoyment of it, or does it hurt their enjoyment of it? It might just sound like jarring. You know what I mean? So
once somebody commented, there's not even a hook in this song. I'm like, what are you talking about? This thing is made of hooks. It's made of hooks.
There's just a lot of them.
There's your initial dan dan diddy dan dan. That thing that catches you immediately. And then,
for me,
when I listen to it more, when the chorus comes up, that melody of the chorus, hits those couple notes and then into the chorus.
I guess for me, the hook has to grab you right away, and that was the only hook for me. Like, yes, there's other hooks when I listen to it again, but I shouldn't have. Like, I guess when you first listen to it, like, if I walk away, go like, oh shit, I remember that, and that was like the one thing I remembered from the first listen. After that,
for me,
I started remembering.
Listen to band-maid for the hooks though. Like,
I know we're talking about generally people listening. You know, like that's how
right.
Like,
if they're unfamiliar with it or whatever.
Yeah, so like all the bands I listened to this week, you know, the one that really stuck out was for me was Glim Spanky, because the hook was just so there. Like, you know what I mean? It was so it's in my head, you know what I mean? And it just stuck out. That's why I was immediate with like that, because I was like, it's
honestly an interesting conversation as to like how much of the rock community or metal community cares about hooks. Like, how much do they prioritize that sound of it?
That's
you know
kind of a pop music thing.
Yeah,
like
musician,
obviously that matters a lot in pop.
As a musician, I do think.
Well, yeah, but I do think that, like, with a band like Band-Maid, for example, I do think it matters a lot, because I think that at least half of their audience has been built over the course of, you know, the several years that they've been around, right? And their older music being a little bit simpler and a little bit more focused on that type of thing. They created a lot of fans back then already. You know what I mean? So people are already, they've got that ingrained into their mind that Band-Maid is capable of pulling out a really great hook. And I've always thought that their choruses are super memorable. I've said that it creates nostalgia without even having heard it before. You get this like weird nostalgic deja vu feeling, like, oh, this is a great melody that I've heard before, but you never actually have heard it before. You know, it's this crazy feeling. And so I do think it matters with a band like Band-Maid, and it probably matters to a large segment of the audience. But I do wonder how much of that segment of the audience, like what that percentage is. You know what I mean?
With me, if I know I'm gonna go listen to a hard rock band, what's gonna hook me is the riff. If I'm going to listen to a hard rock band or metal, the riff is the hook. And so with this, is there that same kind of thing with the riff on this, you know, because it kicks right into it, that maybe it changes so much. Maybe
there are a lot of riffs.
It's hard to grasp like that, you know.
That's a good point.
It's a complicated band, you know, and complicated band with complicated fans. Ooh.
Yeah. I would be interested to go through like the Unseen World album and have people try to identify the hooks of each song.
Yeah, could be,
because like thinking, no God, what's the hook in that doesn't have a counterpart in Unleash, you know?
I honestly can't answer
like
that question.
Could be compared to like dun dun dee dun dun.
Yeah.
You know? So it's kind of like that's how Band-Maid always structures their songs.
They do that a lot, where it's like, especially when you get into the choruses, they, you know, half the time they just drop lyrics completely, and then they just make sounds that we can sing along to. You know, they like to do that, and that makes a lot of sense. That's where the hooks usually come from. in band-maid songs.
Someone mentioned the "I'm losing my mind" part. Like that's
I'm
right away in
losing my
the
mind.
intro. That just sounded so like punk to me. Like it was such a great start to like, okay, this is the tone of this video. It's about like trying to get past internal struggles, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what would you say is like the hook in a song like Different? You know, because like to me, that's the type of song where I think probably a large segment of the audience is probably turned off if they don't like the more sort of progressive side to them. Because I don't really hear much of a core of like a hook in a song like Different. You know, let's go, it's showtime. That's hooky. But it's also one line and that's it.
For me,
right?
that the melody that Konami does right after that.
But it's
goes around and around in my
ridiculous.
head. It is ridiculous, but
you know
it's
what I
a
mean?
fucking hook.
Ain't nobody like, you know, ain't no classic rock fans just like humming that along as they walk down the street. You know what I mean? Like it's fucking complicated. You know, I love it. Personally, I love
Ryan
it.
will
but
be.
I do think
Ryan will be humming it
people...
down the sidewalk.
He just did right there.
Yeah. I would love to like. I'm sorry.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
we're both interrupting each other.
Go ahead.
When Psyche comes in over the chaotic guitars and everything, when she comes in with her vocal lines, that's what's going to grab most people, no matter what you're intending to hear. Her voice and the way the lyrics are written, fuck man, you understand them or not, that's what grabs you. If I think for somebody who doesn't play guitar, maybe I guess that's the other thing that grabs me is just the sound of her voice. And that's, if I think of a song like Different after that melody, that's, you know, it's the vocals, that melody's coming right into my head. It's just getting better and better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The bottom line is people like what they like. If they didn't like it, it's not the end of the world. Band-maid puts out new music all the time, you know?
Yeah.
So they have another 6 songs coming out soon. So
yeah, I'm really curious to figure out how those are going to sound. You guys...
Oh yeah, duh. I was counting Unleash. You're right.
For more Gaijin goodies like you just saw, be sure to subscribe to the Gaijin Guys podcast and turn on all notifications to be part of the live stream every Sunday. You can also find us wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, etc. You can find even more exclusive content and reactions on our Patreon, patreon.com/Gaijin Guys. I'll see you there. Adios.